this is the book that you brought me, Adventures of a Young Naturalist, David Attenborough, and it says The Zoo Quest Expeditions. Thank you so much for this book.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I have read...
May you also live 100 years.
Is he 100 now?
Almost. He's getting there.
Wow. We all have memories, many memories with Sir David Attenborough. And I have two of his other books, if not more. One is called Life in the Undergrowth, and one is Life on Air. I think, yeah, Life on Air. I don't have this book. Thank you. So do you also consider yourself a naturalist since you spend a lot of time in nature, hiking?
I can't call myself a naturalist, but I love nature. I think it's you have to do more to be a naturalist, but I deeply care about the nature and I enjoy it and I try to do my part for it.
And mountains. I remember years ago, you and I did a road trip from Colorado to California, if you remember. 2007 from Colorado to California. We went through Arizona, New Mexico, and then to California. Before I ever went to Colorado, some people told me that if I went there, I would feel at home because of the mountains. That Colorado has mountains that are similar to the mountains in Kurdistan. And you lived in Colorado. Is that statement? I mean, I felt it, but...
It is true, but it's also different in the fact that the mountains, they're much, much higher than here, right? You get the elevation there sometimes above, 14,000 feet, so you get definitely, the breathing is not easy sometimes, but for me, it's actually more California is more like Kurdistan.
Really? In what way?
Especially Southern California, just the types of the mountain, the hills, especially in summer, they get dry, and also the climate is very, very close to here. And I'm not talking about the coastal area, but more the inland. It's very, a lot of area dry and hot, in the summer. Again, that's for me, California is closest to the nature and climate that we have here.
In Kurdistan?
Yeah.
And you lived in California also for a number of years?
We did, and in San Diego, but we still have family there because my wife is from the area, and that's the only place we still get pomegranate from California. My in-laws send us every year.
From California?
From California.
So that's a good point, because I was going to ask you, here, you are also from Halabja, the capital of pomegranates. What's the difference between a pomegranate from Halabja and a pomegranate from California?
It's one of those things it's very hard to explain. It's almost like a state, you just know it's different, right? When I see a pomegranate from Halabja, I know it just tastes different, it feels different. I'm not a pomegranate expert, but I can guarantee you, if I see a pomegranate, I know if it's from Halabja or from somewhere else.
Wow, yeah.
Just a couple weeks ago when we were here, I with a dear friend, we were in the market. I wanted to get a glass of fresh pomegranate juice, and when he cut it, I immediately knew. I said, "This is not from Halabja." He said, "No, it's from Egypt." It's why do we have pomegranate from Egypt?
Yeah.
So it's just
you can tell the difference.
The pomegranate from California, it's different because I'm sure there are in other areas, but there is only one it's only Halabja when you have sour or sweet and sour pomegranate or just sweet pomegranate. Everywhere else I have tried, they're always super sweet.
Super sweet.
Right.
Do you think they have played with the genetics of that?
I have no idea, but it's, California pomegranate is delicious. It's absolutely delicious, but it's just...
Not the one.
I can be picky about... We all can be picky about certain things, and People from Halabja, we are picky about pomegranates.
I always say people from Halabja exactly are picky and spoiled when it comes to pomegranates.
Exactly.
We know what pomegranate we want from which area or which village.
Exactly.
Also, we don't want, some people don't even eat it. I'm one of them before it rains.
Yeah.
So before the autumn rains, Halabja people don't want to.
And I know the cities, I'm sure you also know, the cities is much bigger now, but when I was a kid, I remember it was even more than that. Like they would say this pomegranate is from, you know, this person's garden even, you know.
The farmer.
Yeah, the farmer. Like, from Sazan, from Bakochago, from, you name the guy. So you just,
Yeah, and this past summer I was in Halabja. I was in a fruit garden, and I said that if when you are in Halabja you don't have to have a garden of your own, you will always know someone who has a fruit garden and tells you always go, and this is the key, go into the garden and get whatever fruit you want.
Yeah, when I was there, I think it was like 10 days ago, we went to one of our relatives actually to his orchard, and he said take some pomegranate, and I actually thought it was when he said just a few. He gave us 3 massive boxes. They were in the car, and I have a picture of that. It was the craziest. It was almost 100 kilo.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then price wise in Halabja you buy 5 pomegranates for $1 or less. In the US and other countries you buy single individual pomegranates for at least $5.
Costco has the best in the States, basically, and it's 4 of them for $19.99.
Wow.
They're big, they're delicious, but I mean, it just tells you the price comparison.
And also since you said you are not a naturalist, but you love nature, I know some years ago you were doing a hike. Can we say hiking across the Appalachian
I still do hike with I still hike, and I do a lot of I was hiking when we lived in Atlanta. So one thing, the Appalachian Trail is really, really long. It's more than 2,000 miles, and it's actually the best or the most well-maintained trail in the States, because there are almost I think more than 100,000 people. They go on that trail every year. So, and there is a culture of, especially if you are into nature, is you really take care of it. So a lot of people, there are a lot of groups, they clean it up, they mark it in terms of the trail. So what I was doing in Atlanta especially, I was doing some sections, basically, not a lot, because it gets really, really hard. And also it is either, with hiking is always hot. You start really, it's cold, right? But it's just the energy. So it was more like we would do 15, 20 kilometers a day and then start again.
The trail starts where? In Georgia?
It starts in about an hour north of Atlanta.
And it ends
and that's the southern end, basically. They call it for the through hikers. Those are the people who start from either the north or the south, and you go all the way. On average, it takes about 6 months. A lot of people who start in Atlanta, you need to start in February, sometime in February, because it's very cold in Maine, in that area. So by the time you get there, it's August, basically, and the weather has, it's mild, so you enjoy it. But I don't think I have ever seen anybody to, starting from, I'm sure there are, to start from basically the north part, because it gets really,
south.
So it's much easier.
And in Kurdistan, I think some years ago you had the idea of starting a similar hiking trail in Kurdistan.
I still do have that, and actually I've mentioned to some people now. My idea, it was more about Halabja, basically, is how to keep for generations to come, and I'm talking about hundreds of years from now, especially the memory of the chemical attack. And then, as you know, during the chemical attack, most of people from Halabja, they escaped or gained to safety from Ababile, the north, northeast of Halabja, outside of Halabja, and basically hiking through Shiniri Mountain all the way to Iranian border. So my idea is, and still is, to create a trail, basically, that will keep that memory alive. And again, even generation now, they don't know a lot about the chemical attack unless you read about it, and that's fine because but going and experiencing a trail, and in the US we have stuff like that. For example, Lewis and Clark, right? They still have the trail. What happened hundreds of years ago. There are a lot of, in many different religions, they have actually religious, basically, trails. The
one in
the
Spain,
events exactly happened hundreds of years ago.
So your idea for the Halabja trail was not just a hiking trail, but a trail that with a story behind it.
It is with a story behind it.
This trail was used by the people of Halabja to basically escape to safety.
Exactly.
That's a good idea. So for visitors to be able to
even if you don't know about the chemical attack, just going there and experiencing what people went through. It could be for fun, right? It's not,
just a hike.
It's just a hike. But again, it will be like also a learning opportunity for many people who probably they're just interested in hiking. But and also it's a breathtaking view. It's absolutely, you have been to the mountain, especially at the top of the mountain. I'm sure we didn't feel it like that, in 1988. But it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. So it's a.
Have you looked at the place, or is this just an idea?
I have looked at the place, and I have looked at even writing. My wife, Tiara, you know her very well. I mean, she wants me to basically dedicate my time to do that, and it costs, right? And I've even looked at it basically like by meters, how much it costs to build a trail.
Why can't you start, as Gandhi says, with a single step?
The thing is,
the first mile, for example, work for several months. Let's say.
No, that's a good idea. It is absolutely a good idea. Two reasons. There are a few things to do that. We can absolutely start that, but it goes through both public land and private lands, right?
Yeah.
So you need, at the very least, basically the blessing of the government and getting all those paperwork, and then the private lands also to make sure that you're. The most important thing is you're doing something that people will use it, right? So that's the absolute idea, right? And also to looking at generations from now, how this is going to sustain and survive, right?
How long is this one that you have in mind, the trail?
I think the one I've been looking at is basically getting to do out the river that you cross to Iran. It's, I think, under 30 miles, something like that. So
that's
it's
doable, yeah.
But you're talking about, again, you want, as I was saying, it's a learning opportunity, but also it's about enjoying the nature, right?
Yeah.
So it's both, but then you have, you need facilities, you need camping grounds, right? You need basically trailheads. Not everybody will start from the beginning to the end. So you need
trailhead means areas where you could start in the middle.
Exactly. So where you can park and start, or you start from kilometer 1 and you are then at kilometer 5. There's another trailhead where you can exit. So there's a whole science behind basically.
So what is stopping you from dedicating all your time to this project?
Life, I guess, yeah.
It's a great idea.
I mean, part of it is basically, been working and stuff, so.
Yeah, it's more than a full-time commitment. If anyone does it, it's serious.
It is serious.
It is. And in Kurdistan, it makes sense to have trails because this is a mountainous country. We are known for mountains. And tens of years ago, not even hundreds of years ago, people in this country always walked from one place to another. So the country is crisscrossed with old trails. If we cannot revive all of them, we could do a few.
Absolutely. And one thing I'm always fascinated about the trails here and the areas here is just the stories behind them, because there are a lot of like they can be legends and mythical, right? For example, when I was in Bawanur and in Kalar, there the Tuni Baba, the Canyon of Baba. Just the story behind that, many years ago, a guy, dared to go there, and there is a dragon. That's the thing behind it. There is a dragon inside.
That story still exists.
It still exists.
Myth, yeah.
But what I mean in many different areas, there are that kind of just fascinating stories about caves, about canyons, about rivers, about, and they're just incredible.
Yeah.
To invest in and building the infrastructure, basically, to both enjoy it, but also, as I was saying, to be a learning opportunity for a lot of people who come, because I'm sure a lot of people will be fascinated by the stories in Kurdistan.
Yeah.
In addition to the nature and the beauty, the areas can offer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it makes sense. And also, putting aside the story behind it and the trail and tourism and all that, it's the best activity for people to go hiking and walking up the mountains, running, basically encouraging more people to go out.
It is.
And these days people, sorry to interrupt you, lots of people go out on picnic, as you have seen, but unfortunately they want to get their vehicle as close to the picnic spot as possible. They want to park under the tree. They want to park under a waterfall. I've seen that. So I wish when we build tourist sites or trails, at a certain point, vehicles could not go any further. I've seen it in other countries, and you have, I'm sure. But here is a bit hectic. So you look at a beautiful mountainside, there are as many cars as trees on that mountain.
That's right. And I think there is a reason behind that is you want to maintain the nature as is, right? But also from the other side, you want the wildlife to not to be disturbed. So I think it absolutely makes sense, you don't have access all the way to the waterfall. I mean, there is a reason for that, right? But you're right. You're right. And I think Kurdistan has that opportunity, to be honest, in many, many areas, because outside the main hubs for tourism and picnic, there are still a lot of areas that are not disturbed. So, and then I think that's the tricky part or the hard part for the authorities, how to develop it enough for people to enjoy it, but making sure it is well kept.
Yeah.
And the nature is not disturbed.
Yeah, and that's very important, exactly. And when you think of creating a reservation area or natural reserve, I mean to say, or a trail or something, some people might immediately think of development or construction and building facilities, but it has to be minimum,
right?
Not to be intrusive. Into the nature and wildlife of the area, because at the end of the day you go out to enjoy this nature. You don't want highways and high rises and concrete buildings.
And I think that's why they call it you're a visitor, right? Again, it's a nature's place, and you have been to many areas, especially with the wildlife. I mean, they know when some area is a wildlife, right? Is not disturbed. They know they come back. That's the reason why they come back, right?
The animals.
The animals, So I think it's I hope, I mean, we have that opportunity here, really. Because in many areas, like, for example, I've seen in the West, in America, I mean, they destroy now. They are undoing dams. They have done many, many years ago because they found out it's not adding a lot to the nature. Right, and the wildlife is gone. So now they are kind of rebuilding it. But in Kurdistan is the opposite, right? We're building dams. It's good, right? We need that. But then you want to make sure that it complements the nature, right?
In another way, No, exactly. They removed those dams in the US because they realized the value of the water flowing is much more than the value of the dam and the water holds back. In Kurdistan, we have built ponds. I like the idea of ponds.
It is,
and,
me too.
It just basically harvests all the water. Now, as we are speaking, there's floods everywhere and a lot of rain, and everyone is happy. in the Kurdistan region with the rain because
Right.
the rains were late. So you're absolutely right. It should be not intrusive into nature. And then Kurdistan has all the potential. You are right because of so many years of isolation. Much of our nature was left untouched.
It is.
I-
It's just, I think the only thing we have talked about many times is that in many of those areas, you don't have the infrastructure, which is good,
Yeah.
usually. You want to, but then you have population growth, you have businesses coming, you have tourism, hopefully it will become a part of it. Then you want to build all those facilities, all those infrastructure.
Yeah.
And then, keeping the balance between, making sure that it attracts tourism and it keeps the nature as is, it's really hard work.
Yeah. What's the Kurdish community like in California? We all know the biggest is in Nashville, Tennessee, but California. Have you seen Kurds there? Are there some prominent Kurds?
So we
Kurdish
used
community?
to live in San Diego. San Diego has a lot of Kurds and Iraqis in general. There are, if you mean the pioneers, if I call them, they moved to San Diego. Basically, a few families in late 1970s, basically.
Wow.
So they've been there for a long time. And the second biggest big wave of Kurds first and Iraqis in general moved to San Diego before around 2003, and that was in the lead up to the Iraq War, because there's a massive military base in San Diego. So a lot of translators basically were working at the base, so they moved their families to that area
From other parts of the US.
From other parts of the US. So there are like now. One of the cities, Al Cajon, is basically it's like a mini Iraq, and so there are a lot of Kurds there. In terms of famous Kurds, there are some Javs there actually.
The Jav tribe.
Yeah, the Jav tribe. So San Diego is the biggest one.
Wow.
And I used to hang out with a lot of Kurds there, and actually they had a little gathering on a weekly basis, basically in one of the clubs there, especially the elder ones. About a dozen. Every week was different, and I really enjoyed it because it was just like a window into Kurdistan, basically. And you go there and just there's no English, and you're feeling like immediately back, So that's and now we live in Northern Virginia near DC. So and the community there is quite. It's quite really big actually there.
Kurdish community.
Yeah, Kurdish community is big because a lot of people are working either for the government, also they have moved to that area, or working for companies that work for the government, especially in the security sector and the research sector. There are a lot of Kurds.
I remember some years ago I went to a kebab shop. A friend took me in Harrisburg. Is it called Harrisburg?
Harrisonburg.
Harrisonburg. Is it in Virginia?
It is. It is like a few hours south of DC. Yeah.
Why is there a kebab shop there? Because there's a
There's a massive Kurdish community. What happened to them many years ago, a lot of Kurds went there because a lot of immigrants, when they start with basic work they have.
Yeah.
And then they build, they either go back to school or, their kids doing better. In Harrisonburg, there are several, from what I've heard, massive poultry farms. So a lot of immigrant communities started there. That I don't know if that's the story is true or not, but that's how at least the Kurdish community started there. And there are still a lot of Kurds there, in fact, a lot. I think from what I've heard, probably a few dozen families, if not actually more than that.
Wow, families in Harrisonburg. But the Kurdish community in general in the US is not huge compared to England or Germany.
No.
Or Sweden.
No, but it's just, it needs organization there, right? Because, you mentioned Nashville, right? You mentioned San Diego, you mentioned Nova. I think probably organizing the community to have more influence would be something doable.
Ah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, whose job is it to organize a community? Especially in the States, it's so huge, the country. It's not easy to bring everyone to an event.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not. No, and it's life is not. It's hard everywhere, but it's specifically. I mean, generally, it's harder there because you have been to the States many times and you live there. Wherever you go, several hours of driving, right?
Yeah, exactly. Kurdistan is tiny,
right?
Very tiny compared to the United States. That's true. And the reputation of the Kurdish community in the US generally is like an average or normal immigrant community like any other. It doesn't stand out for anything.
I think you're right about that. But part of it is Kurdish community. Again, I'm not talking about the very few families they went in the 70s. Kurdish community really is from the 1990s, right? Especially mid 1990s. So now you start to see the second generation or even third generation in some, parts where you see prominent figure or people who have been doing well.
Second generation Kurds.
Yeah. So, and I think that's pretty normal for a lot of immigrant community, right? It's the first generation is really is basically sacrificing everything they have so that their kids can do better than they have done. And I think Kurdish community have reached that level. Like you see really well-known Kurds in different fields there, young people. So I think that's a good sign, probably,
that they are established now.
Right, like really assimilated in the system and the communities, and there have been several actually running for offices in different parts, especially in local elections. So those are really good.
I saw in the local media here in Kurdistan last week that a Kurdish woman for the first time became mayor in a US city.
Okay,
member of city council or something.
That's amazing.
I don't know, unfortunately, the details of the story, but also in the United States, for some reason, obvious reasons, there are some former military people, senators, congressmen, current or previous, who know Kurdistan and Kurds really well.
Right.
There's always been someone, right, in the US decision-making level or even on the ground level that know the Kurds, and generally, I think the relation between Kurds and America has been good.
It has been good. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I think that has been, especially, I think that's something to be really probably invested in. Is more work with the Congress, right? Because they're the long term, they're the one who legislate, right? And you're right, there are a lot of congressmen, both from the House of Representatives and the Senate who truly actually like Kurds, and appreciate genuinely, right? And long history. For example, Senator Van Hol from, I think is it Maryland or Delaware? Probably. I mean, he was a congressional staff when Halabja happened, right? So he has a history working on Kurdistan and with Kurds, and there are others. And we were talking about Kurdish communities. For example, I'm pretty sure the senators and congressmen from Nashville, they absolutely know about Kurds, right? Because it's a huge voting, basically, community, right? So, but you're right. I think there are a lot of supporters of Kurds. So your only job is to make it easier for them to support you, right? And making it easier is basically to make sure that the system here and, we are genuinely interested in what they are doing and what they are telling us and doing, the advice that are good for here, right?
Yeah. And just last week or this week, a few days ago, the US opened its biggest consulate in the world here in Erbil.
Yeah, I saw some picture. Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful building, definitely.
I think everything is American designed, implemented.
Yes. And I saw, actually, in addition to that, because that's what's of interest to me, is they opened also a store that imports basically everything from America. Because that's always a challenge for us. We want to bring something like, is not here, like something like
A tool or something.
Right, or something, as a gift, right?
Wow.
We want to bring things like
So
people don't have
American
access
story.
to.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I read. It says about 80% of all products are imported from America. So that's
Wow.
good.
Yeah, that's good. There are things you want to buy, as you said, whether it's food or a tool, a hammer, a saw.
So,
And
and especially if you
quality
live
stuff.
here, like that's what like I was saying, talking about pomegranate. Like it's one thing I miss about Kurdistan, right? Or a good kebab sometimes.
Yeah.
So when you're an American live here, you absolutely miss stuff.
Yeah.
Right, about your home country and your hometown or something that reminds you. So having an American store here, basically things that are imported, and you have access to that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, even sometimes you don't have to buy anything. You just go for a walk into the aisles, through the
Right.
aisles, and
Do some window shopping.
you feel at home. So yeah, that's the sign of good relations, I think. Or yeah, I mean, normal relations between the Kurdistan region and the U.S. The presence here, opening that American store, as you say, the consulate. And I'm always for good relations. I am against being against one country or another.
That's right.
Because I read a lot of history books and that, and I love the idea of countries maintaining neutrality in a conflict area.
Well,
You could use
especially your
everyone.
area.
My idea
Yeah.
is just make use of your neighbors for your own benefit. Not in a sneaky way, but get along with everyone.
Get along with everyone, but for the benefit of everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's. But I hope. I mean, my biggest thing here. I hope they will open like a direct flight between Erbil and DC. That would be
going to ask,
incredible.
there are no direct
There
flights
are no
between
direct flights. From what I
Erbil and
heard,
Washington.
like a decade ago, they were trying to, but it didn't because of the security situation here and the rise of Daesh. Didn't work out, but I hope whoever was working on that can revisit and do it. And I really hope like the US will remove Kurdistan from the travel advisory, like that treats Kurdistan similar to other countries. Like they have different travel advisory to different areas of the country, and I think if Kurdistan is basically the category, I don't know what category they are in, the label is changed, it will help both US and Kurdistan, especially because now,
So there is no differentiation on the travel advice website? It just says don't go to Iraq?
It is. And then what happens with that is a lot of, for example, like cultural visits.
Yeah.
Like, for example, universities from, how it is, for example, universities in the state, they send students, for example, for a month to Turkey or Jordan or another country. They can do that. They can, for example, send a summer, for example, a week-long course in Erbil.
Yeah, that
They cannot do
hampers
that. That hampers.
But people still come and go.
They can come and go as individual. They cannot come and go as an institution.
Oh, so as institutions, they have to abide by that
they're
travel
following
advice.
that travel advisory or that whatever label they have basically for the entire Iraq. So I think probably, hopefully, I hope that will. I don't know.
I don't know. I wish I knew what are the standards or the requirements for the US or any government to remove one label.
Right, I have no idea, but I know. I mean, it's 20 something years now, right?
So they were put in place back then. 20
I think
years
probably
ago.
from the. No, I think it's been from the 90s, right?
Wow. It hasn't
So
changed.
I don't think it has changed.
Yeah. So for Kurdistan, you mean it's not even orange or
I have no idea, but I
light
know.
color?
To be honest, the color code I don't know, or the label, but I know is basically I've heard from like multiple like professor from different universities, like they can't and they wish they could.
Okay, so I
bring
remember
students.
some years ago, many people would come, students from Kurdistan, to study in the US.
Right.
Is it still continuing, or
I think
is
so.
the US a popular destination now for Kurdish students? Do you know, or you are not aware of
I really don't
that
know.
world?
I don't know. Yeah, that was a long time ago for us. Yeah.
So I was wondering if students still choose the US to go and study.
Right. I'm pretty sure. I mean, the university is there. I mean, it's in terms of wanting to go, probably, but in terms of the practicality of it, I'm not sure. Right?
The process.
Yeah, the process. Yeah, because they still, I mean, U.S. universities, I mean, there are some really, really good ones. I mean, I'm very proud of my university, and I'm sure you are also.
So you studied in
Colorado, CU Boulder.
In Boulder.
Very, very, yeah.
Wow.
I spent 2 years in Boulder, Colorado. I loved it. You visited us, and you were in New York. So
what are the Boulder is it? It's not the capital of the state, is it?
no, it's Denver is.
Denver.
Yeah.
I passed through Denver. We did that road trip, of course, through Colorado. But once I also passed through Denver on a train. So I took a long train ride from Chicago to Sacramento, California. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 56 hours. Yeah. I stopped one day in Omaha, one day and a night. I stopped 24 hours in Salt Lake City, Utah, so that it's not one long stretch of a train ride. I stopped twice on the way, got out, went to hotels, explored the cities, and continued.
I've never been to Salt Lake, but I've heard it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I went there, it was winter. There's snow on the ground.
Nice.
They have an amazing, I don't know if it's a mega church or not, but the main church of the Mormon community is in Salt Lake City.
That's
Utah.
amazing.
So where are your favorite places in the US in terms of, in California, unfortunately, I haven't seen the footprint of naturalist John Muir. Have you heard of John Muir?
Yeah.
One of the father of the national parks in the US.
Right.
And they say there are those huge pine tree parks.
Redwoods.
Redwood, yeah.
Redwood is, it's very special. It's actually, I mean, it's giant, literally you can drive, they have actually drive, like the cars goes through.
So drive through park.
Through the tree. They have, like, because the tree is it's just as big as this entire room.
Wow.
They're massive. But in terms of going, like, the favorite places, I mean, Hawaii is because my wife is from there.
Hawaii, wow. And you lived in Hawaii?
We did live a little bit in Hawaii. Anywhere in California. Absolutely. That's the problem. Once you live in California, everywhere else is like a downgrade. But Miami, Florida is really, really beautiful in certain times of the year. But it is very different. That's the thing with the, in the state is everywhere is really different. So you can enjoy Colorado. I still, I absolutely love it. And this, a few months ago, I had an opportunity to do a short road trip for a couple of weeks. That's short, right? And it was nice. I had not been to, some of the states, Wyoming and other areas. So it was really beautiful also.
Wyoming, wow.
Yeah.
And do you get that feeling when you come back from the United States to Kurdistan? Distances feel shorter. That happened to me the first time years ago. And when I got out of the airport here to the way I was going home, it was an hour away and it felt like 1 minute. Right. Because in the US, it takes you more than an hour, sometimes two, just to get to the airport.
That's right.
And everything else is hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Here, it is the same, because I mean, we still go back to Atlanta and we have friends there. And between DC and Atlanta in traffic, probably it's about 10 to 11 hours. So we drive 10 to 11 hours if we drive, and we do drive. And, coming
still
back here.
Close, probably.
It's driving distance, basically. But here again, from here, the airport to Halabja was like 4 hours. And so it's like
11 hours if you drive. I think you get from Zaho to Basra. Right. I'm sure, because it's, let's say 4 hours, 5 hours to Baghdad, and 5 or 6 hours from there to Basra. And in the States, I think some states you do not cross them in 11.
Texas is like that. California, if you go south to north is like that. But Texas, we've done a few times, like crossing Texas. It's very funny because when you enter Texas from the west part, from New Mexico. I think it's the first town is El Paso. It says it's like 15 miles, and then just below it is San Antonio. It says 600 like something miles.
Wow.
So it's like
In the
it's
same
crazy.
state.
In the same state, and like in the not only the same state, it's like the major town after El Paso is like
Wow.
600 miles after it.
Wow.
Yeah.
600 miles away from the closest town.
And it always reminds me of a story I was reading about the outback, basically in Australia. And this guy was working at a restaurant, and you know how far it is there, basically from one location to another. And he said they would have like, at the restaurant, like customers were just picky and didn't like stuff, and they were just giving them a hard time. And he would say, "Hey, sir, if you don't like our service here, just, go down the road. There's another restaurant." And down the road the restaurant was 500 kilometers. It was like, yeah.
Exactly. That's what they say on a street.
Right.
You go down the street, you will find another
You'll find
option.
another place.
Yeah. No, and that's what makes a country like Kurdistan accessible
Yeah, it
in
is.
every sense. Like if you want to go to Choman to see mountains, if you want to go to Halabja to see some gardens, to go to Zaho or wherever, in a few hours you could do all that. So
You could do a lot, and there is a lot. I don't know. I mean, you probably know. I'm sure there is some kind of like a catalog of what people can do and where to go, like
places
to see, and how long it takes. For example, if I have a week in Kurdistan, what to do, or I don't know, 2 weeks
There's
or
one
3
problem
days.
here:
Yeah.
transportation.
Right.
When you come from the US, for example, or you have come from Europe to Kurdistan, you are not going to buy a car for a week or two.
Right.
And then you cannot, or you don't want to rent a car. Whereas if there was a bus to take you everywhere, that's an issue. I've seen people suffering from that. They can't buy a car and they can't rent a car. They want to pay a taxi or a bus. There are those options. But I think we need good, efficient public transportation to our tourist destinations.
Right.
Tourist sites, I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's a major issue in terms of transportation.
Hopefully one day. I hope.
You want to explore the country, Kurdistan in general.
Absolutely. And again, I was saying, the stories, there are really, really interesting stories here, to connecting the land basically to the culture and to the people.
Yeah, and exactly. And now I see on the internet, it's becoming a popular destination. Kurdistan, YouTubers coming from Ireland, from the US, Sweden, everywhere, basically exploring Erbil, Slemani, all the cities and things we have.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And you remember many years ago how hard it was to basically get in and out of Kurdistan.
Yeah.
We had to go to Jordan to pick up a US visa or a UK visa, or even just to fly from there.
Exactly.
You had to go to a neighboring country, basically, of the Kurdistan region in order to fly somewhere from there.
Right.
Now you have Erbil International Airport.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, many times we did it together, and driving hours and hours, spending time at the border, crossing the border.
Yeah.
And now things have gotten really, really, really much better.
Yeah.
There's a lot. That's a good thing is, people want more, right? So that's good in terms of expectation. So, and there's a lot more to do. And that's the good thing about it is actually there are a lot of good things to do.
And in the US, you live in the US now, and you have lived there for many years. And normally, I mean, everywhere, but in the US especially, the media loses interest in a certain topic when it's no longer a hot topic. Right? The Kurds, every now and then, are in the headlines of world news. And these days, the Kurds must be nowhere in the media in the US because there's nothing happening here. Bad things, I must say.
Right. Which is good.
Yeah,
right. In that way, it is good to not to be on the spotlights for things are going wrong. And that's what I was saying, right? And that is the opportunity now, because a lot of bad things in the region happen. And Kurds, in general, we were on the right side of history.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is, again, the challenge for us is how to maintain that. And that's what I was saying, not everything is about politics. There are so many other things. You were talking about the YouTubers, right? I remember many, many years ago, Kurdistan was a model for Iraq in many other things. It was about politics. It was about stability, right? Mostly. But then now, you have opportunity to maintain that momentum, right?
That's a good idea.
But on other areas like tourism, nature, like, what do you call it? Tolerance, coexistence. Like there are just a lot that there are a lot of things that can basically single out this region from this troubled area we live in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's, those are all there. And there are, sincere, loyal, hardworking people who are really want to contribute. So hopefully they will be, supported.
That's a good idea, yeah. Building on that from day one, and day one, I mean 2003.
Right.
When the US invaded Iraq, the Kurds have always had a positive image in the world media.
Yeah.
Iraqi Kurds and recently Syrian Kurds, because of being on the side of the international community and all that. So that's a good point. We must keep that, build on that now.
Exactly. And again, progress is not linear, right? It's always ups and downs. And that's what, we have gone through Kurdistan, right? So the most important thing is to make sure that the vision is there, right? In terms of where we want to be, right? There's always setback.
Yeah.
As I was saying, it's not progress is not linear, right? So you always have all the challenges. We were talking about like 10, 15 years ago, there was supposed to be like a direct flight from Erbil and
to the US.
And to the US, and it didn't happen, right? So you know why, and that's what then you have other areas to progress, that's what I was saying, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it's important to know that the relations between the US and Kurdistan, to some people, when you speak of the US-Kurdish relations, they only think of a military alliance.
Right.
It has to do with war against terrorism. It has to do with the US base here or connections between Peshmerga and the US Army. These things are good on the military and defense side. But it is also a people-to-people relation.
Right. And that's actually
many Kurds
more
live
important.
In the US. Many Americans are living in the Kurdistan region.
Yeah.
Relations, marriages, businesses, and all that. So it should go beyond the military relations.
You're absolutely right. At the end, it really comes down to the people to people, right?
Yeah.
Whom you're comfortable with, having a tea with, and that impacts everything else. Yeah. Relations, whether it's military, diplomatic, or just, culture is all based on that human connection, right?
Yeah. And then you were in Halabja until a couple days ago.
Yes.
What has changed in Halabja in the last 20 years? Because every year you come at least once, sometimes twice, to Kurdistan and you go to Halabja. Recently, I found out something which made me happy. The population of Halabja, the entire province, is 146,000 people. The Halabja city itself is 87,000 people. It's very tiny.
Right.
Kurdistan region is more than 6 million people. And here you have the youngest province, the smallest province. And I'm not against big population or small population, but it made me happy in the sense that it's like, it has all the potential. This beautiful new province with this small population, you could make it an example of cleanliness or greenery or something. There's not much pressure on the infrastructure.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the past 20 years is there's a mix of like, I don't live there, right? So it's not for me to decide and judge, right? In terms of where the city is basically going. I really like it when I go back, that there is room for progress, but it's not overdeveloped.
Yeah.
right? So that's good, but I know a lot of people might want to build more,
Yeah.
right? High rises and stuff. It's a place for us. It's just to decompress.
Yes.
Like Halabja is probably the only place like I can relax there. I truly can.
Wow.
You know, that you're talking about accessibility to different places is one of those places that is so easy to access anywhere.
It's in the heart of nature.
Yeah,
Halabja.
it is in the heart of nature, and different types of nature, like access to the mountains, to Hauraman area, which is very different from the lake and all going to the nearby towns. So it has not changed a lot. But I personally like it that way. As I was saying, it's there are a lot of people but things have changed actually. I was this time especially, I really liked compared to the other times in terms of cafe culture. Like there are some really nice cafe. One thing I have noticed, I'm not happy, but again, I'm not the one to judge, is basically the trash is everywhere. Like that's one thing. I think it's interesting because in Kurdistan we love the nature so much, but then I don't think that we do enough
for it. Yeah,
for it. Like and that's my concern, because it's one of those things, like it's there, it's there, and unfortunately sometimes when you take things for granted, you only realize it if you don't have it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's too late. And that's one thing, like you have been to Baokochek area, which is a very beautiful 10 minutes drive from Halabja.
Yeah.
Right? I have some videos there. It just there are a lot of cafes there, but the amount of trash and bottles in the water and it's like...
So the people who go there to enjoy the nature destroy the nature at the same time.
That's part of it, but the other part, which is it's the job of the business also, right? Yeah. If I have a cafe there, the least I can do is take care of my property, right? To clean it up, to make sure that it's welcoming people. So, but anyway, again, that's something I hope somebody will work on.
How about? You have seen most of the United States driving, flying, as the film says, planes, trains, and automobiles. So, and there's this concept of sister cities. I think Erbil is the sister city of Nashville, Zaho of somewhere in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, Slimani of Tucson, Arizona.
Wow.
I think, if I'm not mistaken. So if you were to pick one city in the US to be the sister city of Halabja, your own city, which city would it be?
I've never thought about that, but that's actually now something to think about.
Next time you drive around the US, look out for a sister city.
It will be in California. I know it will be in California, somewhere in California, just because, the mountains in California are absolutely very, very similar to the mountains in Kurdistan, and especially in Halabja area, because the kind of like the rolling...
Hilly.
Yeah.
Wow. And the summers are similar.
Summers are similar. The climate is similar. For example, a lot of things that's why my mother-in-law, basically, she has a garden and, lots of pomegranates. And fortunately, I am the only one who eats and know how actually eat pomegranate.
Value.
So and value it. So we get that a lot every year.
And also the fertility of the land. I remember when I was a child, when I was younger, I would always hear that the second most fertile land in the world is Sharazur in Halabja, and the first is California.
Right.
So that's another similarity.
I think they call it the breadbasket of America, something like that, California, because it is very...
And Kurdistan has been the breadbasket of Iraq.
So definitely will be somewhere in California. But California is massive, and I have been to many areas, but not all.
That similarity. Some years ago, 2019, I think I went to Morocco. In Morocco, I was in Casablanca, then I went by train to Marrakesh, and from there I went on a tour to see a mountain village. It's called Sidi Fatima. So another 2-hour drive or something. When I went to that village, it was 100% similar to Tawala in our own Hauraman.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, their construction, their alleys, their stone houses, and some stone houses you've seen in Hauraman, every few layers they put a wooden beam among the layers. They had the same. So even their water tanks, the taps, the pipes,
That's
and it was
incredible.
also an area known for walnut trees, walnut production. The only difference between that village in Morocco and this village in Kurdistan was the language. Otherwise, it was really, really similar.
That is
It
incredible.
is I've never seen that similarity between any two places.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Very
But, yeah.
funny, yeah. So hopefully we will find a sister city
I
for
will think about it.
Halabja in the United States of America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for
Mariwan. This
having
was
me.
really enjoyable.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Catching up
And I hope
with
you
you
will
and
enjoy
the
the
States.
book. Yeah.
And thank you for the book.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for bringing me this book. I'm going to read it because these days I'm not reading much. I don't have access to bookstores or good books. I do some online, and whenever I get a hard copy of a book, I am grateful.
I'm glad.
Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
see you again soon.
Thank you for having me.